back to Smart Life with Dr. Gina. I, of course, am Dr. Gina. What are the lessons we can learn from sports or waiting tables that'll help us in other areas of life? I think this guy has found something that is really, really special, and I'm going to share it with you today. The cheeky scientist says yes. Dr. Isaiah Henkel is the man known as the cheeky scientist, and I saw a post on his website about the 120 things that wrestling has taught him and also the things that waiting tables taught him about success in his life. Welcome to Smart Life, Isaiah Henkel.
Thanks, Dr. Gina. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you. And so I want to just start with the whole waiting tables things, because a lot of people don't think that waiting tables is going to teach you much. Certainly not going to increase your IQ, certainly not going to increase your success in life, for example. But I want to ask you, what is the most foundational thing about waiting tables that can pay off in the years to come?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was thinking about what would be the core, I guess, kind of corollary between both waiting tables and entrepreneurship, and that's what the article is about specifically. And I would say that it's just learning how to add value to your customers so that they want to add value back to you. That's what I would say. I mean, and it has a little bit to do with sales and a little bit to do with improving your customer's experience.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing in business and entrepreneurship right now, whether you run an online business or an offline business, is making the other person's experience as great as possible. That's what turns them into raving fans and coming back for more. And that's something you definitely learn to do as a waiter or a waitress if you want to get big tips.
One of the things you say is really to focus on that element of customer service. And I think some of us think that, especially if we haven't ever waited tables, we kind of think that, yeah, we provide the commodity or we provide the service and that person needs to kind of come to us and it's really about us. But you say, no, it's really more about that customer, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things you can't fake, really. And if you're a waiter or waitress, you know that all that the waiter is thinking about is how much is going to be tipped. Like, until I think you've been a waiter or a waitress, you can just ignore that and maybe think that, oh, they're flirting
with you or they just like the clothes you have on today. Or they just take so much joy in the food, or they're so busy that they're not really thinking about the tips, but they are thinking about the tips, right?
Exactly, they have to, and that's okay because it's their livelihood. But here's the key, and this is the tricky part, is that they have to actually care about the customer, because people can sense insincerity. And if you don't make it about the customer is going to know that, and it's going to affect your tips. So you have to care about what you're doing, and obviously it's to get better tips and to make sure that you can pay your bills, whatever. But you have to really, really kind of flip on a switch where it's like, okay, I'm going to focus on the customer, focus outward, add as much value there, and then you'll get value in return. And I think that's an important entrepreneurship lesson, because you really have to give much more than you might think before you can start receiving.
You sort of compare people's bus teams as servers to people's teams of employees, and you say, you bribe your best bus boy. You make sure that you work as a team player. When someone has to take your role, you tip them well. Why are those things important in business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's only one you. So if you want to continue to scale and improve your business, for example, or to scale and take on more tables if you're a waiter, you have to get people to help you out. There's only one you. So you got to find the best people, whether they're beneath you, to the side of you, above you, whatever it is, and get them to work for you. And the better you treat them, the harder they're going to work. So and that's something you really don't want to cut corners on. And I talk about this a lot in other articles, that no matter what you're doing, you should start looking to get your first assistant, whether it's somebody in high school or college or whatever, right away. I got my first assistant, a high school kid, when I was still in college, and it was the best decision I ever made. And if you get in that mindset of scaling yourself, or basically creating mini yous, it'll take you much further, whether you're waiting tables or running a business.
Yeah, absolutely. You give lots of tips here, and some of them are really fun. I love roll early, because I remember rolling silverware when I worked during my first master's degree as a waitress. You say also, don't get distracted. Easy to have lots of distractions in a waiting job. Easy to have lots of distractions in business and in life. But one I love, choose your emergencies. This is a critical one. Why is that?
Yeah, so it comes down to the same thing about not getting distracted. If you get sucked into every little drama, you're not going to be able to take care of your biggest tables. I mean, if you get sucked into the drama of just one table, and let's say you have 6 different tables, and you spend all your time on a table of 2 who are probably not going to tip you very much anyway, and you have 4 or 5 other big tops, that's not a smart choice. That's not choosing your focus very well. And I also mentioned in there, being focused helps you stay poised, which people will tip higher, and especially like managers and other people, they're paying attention to that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think if they hurry around and act real rushed and act like they're in the middle of a big drama, that it's going to be impressive, like they're showing other people how hard they're working. But nobody cares how hard you're working. Never let them see you sweat. Poise will be much more impressive, poise and focus. And I think that if you can do that, in whether you're waiting tables or in business, it'll take you ahead of the competition.
I agree with that. I want to shift over to the whole wrestling analogy that you gave, because I think it's so brilliant. It was my favorite. It was what tuned me into your work overall. You listed out 120 things that wrestling taught you about business success. One I love, because I think people get really swept up in this. You said, compete with yourself and not others. This is so key. Explain why.
Right. So I think by focusing inward on your business or yourself and your goals and your unique offer is much more valuable than looking around at what other people are doing. If you know, you'll never be. There's several quotes, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you know, it's better to be a first-rate version of yourself, right, than a second-rate version of somebody else or some other business. And I think Apple's a great example. Apple really focused on themselves, their unique offer, and they exploded because of it. And since then, there's been a lot of other companies that have been trying to be Apple, and because of it, they've never been able to find their footing. And the same goes true for yourself. If you focus on what you have to offer, you'll be able to keep that edge, because your differences, and sometimes people think they have weaknesses, but their weaknesses are really what makes them unique. That's their edge that they can leverage. That's their brand. So stop trying to, just basically the more you ignore other people, the more you will keep yourself different, and the more you'll stick out.
Yeah, fight your own fight. Niche. I love this quote that you gave by Cale Sanderson from the 2004 Olympics, the gold medalist there. He said, "Others don't understand me because I train every day of my life as they have never trained a day in theirs." I love that quote because it tells you how much time we're losing when we just slack off for even one day. But 2 other points that I love that you made back to back here. This is 13 and 14. You say, befriend your competitors, and number 14, hate your competitors. Are you going schizophrenic on me here, Isaiah?
Yeah. So it's important to touch on both sides of things, especially here, because you want to get close to your competitors, and you've probably heard the phrase, keep your enemies close, right? The key there is that you can learn from your competitors. You want to keep the lines of communication open, especially in business, because there are going to be times when it's going to be win-win. You can both help each other out, but either way, you got to constantly be learning if you're going to be moving forward. And then the hate your competitors part, that's there are some groups that you are going to be in direct competition with, and you have to stir things up a little bit and hatred is just, we're just having some fun here, but really you have to despise, set yourself apart by drawing a line in the sand and saying that I'm against this business or this person or what these people stand for, and that's going to help define you to whether it's your readers, your users, or your clients.
Yeah. A few more I love. Strike first. I love that. And you put that down. Strike fast. Those 2 are back to back. You also said politeness is a sign of toughness and discipline is the most important thing. But another one I want to ask you about, sounds a little interesting, is smell the blood. Smell blood. What do you mean by that?
So in wrestling, it's a phrase that my coach used to say in high school, and my college coach too, and I've heard a lot of coaches say it. It means when you're close to a victory, you have to kind of smell blood and really go after it. And it's just referencing kind of what animals do, like whether it's a shark or a dog or something in the wild. They smell blood and they go crazy to get the job done. In that case, chase down another animal, have a victory. Of course, you're not going to be chasing animals in business, but if you get close to a victory, you can't let up then, because that's when you can lose everything you've worked really hard for. It's when you get close and you can kind of sense the end of a project or the end of a big launch, you have to really go after it extra hard, smell blood, and follow through.
Absolutely. Well, I so appreciate this. The list is great, and we want to have you back on because I always enjoy learning from you. I love the sportsmanship that you enter into everything you write, and I appreciate you being on the show. Isaiah Henkel, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Gina.
I want to give just a quick kudos to, it's an anniversary of the championship wrestling team that I cheered for in high school, and we had a great coach, Coach Jeffries, that I learned a ton from. And I want to give just a quick shout out to him and our team as they celebrate that anniversary this upcoming weekend. The good book says that age is wisdom, so in our pursuit of the highest IQ today, we turn to the wisest of them all, the centenarians. If you don't know what that is, stay with us. Up next, we find out what we can learn from those who have lived to be 100. Stay tuned for Smart Life. Back in a moment.